Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join today's Diligent webinar, Simple, Secure Directors and Officers Questionnaires. My name is Danielle Nathanson, and I'll be moderating alongside my colleagues, Senior Director of Module Sales here at Diligent, Jeff Creasy, and Sales Director, Brian Canone. Both Jeff and Brian have helped many organizations implement our D&O questionnaire application, streamlining their D&O process, so hopefully they'll be able to tell you some helpful tips and tricks for you today regarding our product. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar will last about 45 minutes. It will be recorded and a replay will be sent out to all registrants shortly after the session. Please feel free to share the replay with your colleagues. All lines have been muted to reduce background noise, but also please feel free to ask her questions at any time by utilizing the questions pane in the GoToWebinar panel. And that's it. Now I'd like to hand everything over to Jeff to take us through the rest of our presentation.
Thank you, Danielle. Before we jump into some specifics about the Diligent Director and Officer Questionnaire module, I'd like to share some background info about Diligent itself. Diligent offers the world's #1 software platform for boards. And not only are we the worldwide leader in product features, but we are the worldwide leader in market adoption with over 5,000 customers and more than 150,000 directors using the boards platform. We've been a trusted provider to the corporate governance space for over 16 years and now operate in almost every major market around the globe. While our flagship product Boards enables administrators and directors to securely collaborate on and view your board papers, that's really just the tip of the iceberg at Diligent. We now offer a unique platform and a full solution that serves all your corporate governance needs, from document creation and collaboration, secure communications to and between directors, and all your questionnaire needs, from D&O processes to board evaluations. And Diligent is constantly innovating, so look for plenty more to come from Diligent in the near future. For today's webinar, we're going to focus on Diligent's functionality for creating D&O questionnaires and managing that overall process. You may have seen Boards in the past and be familiar with our interface in iOS for our board portal product. And it comes with some basic questionnaire modules, or questionnaire capability that allows directors to access that with a single click through that Boards interface. This tool is great for simple surveys to gather information for logistical purposes, planning your next meeting date, maybe planning a dinner menu, or even gauging board satisfaction. As you can see here, we've got a very simple questionnaire for a board dinner. But I'm guessing that this audience probably has likely much bigger compliance and reporting needs. And if you're a larger organization or a public company, you may have to manage director and officer questionnaires, which is one of those processes everyone tends to love to hate. They're given once a year. They're often administered by very senior legal counsel that, of course, have bigger and better things to do with their time. They tend to be long and boring, and they're pretty much the same thing over and over. But why just stop with considering D&O? When you have a well-designed questionnaire tool, it can be leveraged for a wide variety of board needs. And as you look to evaluate your board management needs, you should really consider the full scope of capability you need from a questionnaire perspective. Your tool should be able to conduct the D&O process, be able to do FCPA reviews, conflict of interest questionnaires, and of course, the broad scope of board level evaluations we should all be doing, especially peer-to-peer evaluations, which are becoming more and more important. I talk to a lot of customers about D&O processes, and some of the key feedback that I typically receive is that it's a very cumbersome process because of the repetitive nature of the data inputs year to year. And more customers are concerned about the lack of privacy and security when using a paper and email-based process to review and finalize their D&O questionnaires. Some of the other typical issues and concerns we hear that paper, of course, is just paper. It's paper. It's difficult. It's bulky. Just like trying to manage your board papers in a paper process. It's just archaic and time to move into the digital age. And it's also time-consuming for directors to respond to those. When we're talking about using PDF and Word documents or Excel type questionnaires that have to be emailed around, again, we get into these security issues. These D&O questionnaires contain sensitive and at times private information that respondents would not want broadly exposed. So we need to be careful about how we share those. And then online surveys are just not tailored to the unique structure of board level surveys. They have limited features, and from a support standpoint, Any customer delegate can pick up the phone and talk to our customer success or our customer support team on a 24/7 basis, 365 days a year. You just don't get that with these common online survey tools. And then finally, some folks are even outsourcing these types of capabilities, but why bother to do that when you have an easy-to-use tool right inside your board portal with Diligent? What we're going to show you now today is a look at the D&O questionnaire module from Diligent. This is an extension of our board's platform, as we pointed out, and Brian is now going to take you through the process to create questionnaires, and then the view of how a director would look at those as well through the board portal. So with that, I'm going to hand the controls over to Brian and let him show us our D&O module. Take it away, Brian.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Alrighty, let me just make sure my screen is visible. So what we are all looking at right now is the Diligent Board's Questionnaire Manager. So I'm logged in as a system administrator of Diligent Boards from my desktop. I've opened up the questionnaires section of the application, and listed here would be all historical or active questionnaires that I've already completed and built. You'll see listed here is the 2016 Director and Officer Questionnaire. Down on the bottom right, the progress, it's 100% completed. So I know that every board member has already submitted all their responses. This is from 2016, so it was likely completed at the end of last fiscal year. But I need to enter into the process of constructing my 2017 Director and Officer Questionnaire. Before I do so, I'm just going to click on the Submission Manager, because it did show that it's 100% completed. You can see all of the individual participants that did complete this questionnaire, and you'll see the percent complete is 100. So as I build a new questionnaire and my directors and officers log in, they begin to complete it, they don't complete it, I'll know what percentage they have done so, and if they haven't completed, that's an opportunity for me to reach out to them just to send a reminder and make sure that they are going to complete it by the date that the questionnaire will close. So I'm going to take my 2016 questionnaire and I'm going to click Duplicate. I'm going to set a title for this questionnaire I'm building, and I'm going to make it my 2017 questionnaire. And I want this questionnaire to be pre-filled. Now with Diligent's D&O questionnaire, the only time you are going to need to build out a questionnaire is when you first enter into the D&O process. Year one is when you're going to build out your questionnaire, and then year after year, you'll be able to copy those questionnaires with or without the answers pre-filled for all of your directors. So I'm going to click Save. And what will launch for me is my edit page for the 2017 questionnaire. Now I copied exactly what I had for 2016. This is my introduction page, and you'll see listed all throughout the left-hand side the different pages to this questionnaire on different topics. Again, this is going to be a pre-filled questionnaire, but this is me just seeing the template for my 2017 version. I'm going to click into my fourth page because entering into our next year, there's been some edits and I have some new questions that I need to add to this questionnaire. I'm going to choose Add a Question at the bottom of my screen, and you'll see a list of all the different question types I can add into this questionnaire. Text, list, table questions, which will be specific to our Director and Officer Questionnaire module. For this example, I'm going to choose a list question. A text box opens up here for me to enter in that question. I'm going to pull up a Microsoft Word document where I am able to just copy the question, and I'm going to copy this question here. It's the age-old question of whether your director has been committed a crime in the past or is currently in any criminal proceedings. I'm going to choose Paste from Word. Question pops up right in there. For list options, I have the opportunity to copy previous existing questions list options. So for this, it's obviously going to be a yes or no question. I have a bunch of other questions in this questionnaire with that set up, so I don't have to enter in yes or no or other options every single time I create a question. Some other settings for this question, it's going to be a required one. Only one answer can be listed in the selected. Just some setup, linkable question or show question labeling control on the same line. I'll check that off actually as well. And I'm going to click Save. So now that question has become question 9 within my questionnaire. Now, if somebody's going to answer yes, I'm going to want to, know a little bit more information. Why were they committed of a crime? What took place? So I'm going to add a sub-question. And this is going to be a text because I want to get details around what their response is. And I'm going to check off in the top right contingent question. Now I can select which question this is in reference to with the response, and I'm going to choose question 9. And if they choose yes, please describe. Oops. Scroll down, it's going to be required, other settings, and I'm going to click save. So if my director responded yes, they'll see this text box pop open and they'll have to be required to provide some additional information. Now you'll notice in the top right, the Prefill Manager. Now for this question, likely none of your directors have been ever committed of a crime, or else, they likely would not be serving on your board of directors. So what I want to do is I'm going to want to prefill that question's response for all of my board members with clicking the Prefill Manager. So I have a master level option where I can choose a response that will flow down to every single director's questionnaire. Or if I needed to, I can select each individual's questionnaire and make edits to the pre-responses. So first of all, I'm going to click 2017 Director and Officer Questionnaire. I'm going to prefill answers on the right-hand side. It's going to open up my questionnaire for me. And this is, again, going to be for all participants. I'm going to go to my board conflicts of interest page, and I'm going to select no, and it will save automatically. So that will flow down to all of my directors' questionnaires pre-filled here. Now, if I wanted to do it on an individual basis, I can click into, for example, Carol Simon. I can pre-fill answers. And let's say Carol has a name change. It's now Carol Jane Simon Jones. That's her new last name. It's saved automatically. I'm going to click back, and now that will be pre-filled for my director, for Carol to log in and see all those responses once they log into their diligent username and password. I'm going to click back now that I've done my pre-filling, go back to my questionnaire manager. My 2017 questionnaire is now listed here. It's just in a draft status. I'm going to click edit. Jump back to my questionnaire edit page. You'll also notice in the top left, the appendices tab. I'm going to click into there, and this is where I can add different appendix items. So if there's terminology in the questions, if there's an act or a regulation that I need to provide a little bit more information to my directors on what the particular meaning is or what we are defining in that question, I can have a blue link within the question to a little bit more information right from the questionnaire. So I have a few definitions listed here: associate, arrangement, controlling person. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add another beneficial owner definition. I'm just going to say beneficial ownership. Again, I'm going to go back to my Word document. I'm going to copy the definition I have here for my beneficial owner. I'm going to paste from Word, show a background title, and click Save. So I've added a whole new definition, a different definition for beneficial owner. I'm going to go back to my questionnaire. And to a question where that word, beneficial ownership, is located. Click into the stock ownership page because I know I have a term here. I'm going to click edit of this. I'm going to highlight this text. Although I have a link there, I'm just going to remove it, and I'm going to highlight the text again. I'm going to click add edit link. And I can link to a particular definition that I've added to the appendix. So this one, I'm going to do the beneficial ownership that I just created, create link. So now when my directors open up the questionnaire, they'll see this blue link and be able to click into it to get that little bit more information that they need on the terminology in this question. So I'm going to click save. Been re-hyperlinked for question 5. At this point, my questionnaire is completed. I have all the questions populated in here. I do have a preview option in the top right, so if I wanted to see what the questionnaire looks like for all my directors, I can do so from this screen. I'm going to go back to our main questionnaire manager, and now that it's been completed, my next step is to publish the questionnaire for my directors to have access. So I'm going to choose Publish on the right side, and I'm going to set a close date. I can set the date for whenever I need to, and I will be able to change it if I need to. So I'll choose November 9th, but you'll notice if perhaps directors haven't yet completed it by November 8th, I can push that date out if need be. Change the details around the questionnaire, pre-filling, questionnaire name, any descriptions. This is me setting the access based on my board's construction. So if only the executive committee or my main board is going to have access to this D&O questionnaire, I can set that here and what the privileging is around it. I can use our group security, so based on the committee breakdown that I have set up within Diligent Boards, or I can push this questionnaire out to certain people or hide it from certain people as well. And you'll notice just for this example here, I have just 4 board members that I am pushing this questionnaire out to. So I did customize who's getting access to this particular questionnaire. Just a summary with some details around the closing. Signature will be required. I'm going to jump over to the iPad in a moment, and you'll see how the e-signature capability comes into place, and then also the user distribution, so who this questionnaire is actually going to be pushed out to. I'm going to choose Publish. You will not be able to edit after you do publish the questionnaire. I'm just going to make it visible. So now the status is published. It was published today, and the close date you'll see here is November 9th. I'm going to just bring up my iPad for everyone to see. Just one moment, and then you'll be able to see it from a director view. So I'm here on the director view for the iPad application on my main bookshelf. As you saw from the presentation of the slides earlier, I'm going to click the 3-barred icon on the top left to bring out my side panel where I'm going to navigate to the questionnaire section of the application. And you'll see now that active questionnaire, the 2017 Director and Officer questionnaire listed, is the one we just published, and I can click into it to start. It's going to open me up to my introduction page, and I can click next in the bottom right. You'll see it's already pre-filled. So there's not much for me to need to do unless I need to change. I have the opportunity to change some of the responses. So if my home address is changed, or my position in historical companies or my current companies has changed, everything is going to be required. You'll see that everything again has been pre-filled based on what I responded last year. I can make all those updates. There are the hyperlinks here for the appendix, so I can click into associate, and the definition of associate pops up, so I can get a little bit more information on what the company means by this term. Click into the next page, make edits. I'll just say company XYZ. Saved automatically as I'm making these submissions. So I've come to the last page. This is just my submission page. You'll see add signature, and this is a capability that will exist using the Diligent Director and Officer questionnaire tool. I'm just going to tap on the add signature section. It tells me when I signed. I'm going to click submit, just letting me know that once submitted, I cannot make any changes to the questionnaire and the responses that I put out. I'm going to click yes. And now the questionnaire has gone away. My administrator will be able to log in, see the questionnaire, see my responses, and begin aggregating all of those responses and questionnaires from all of our director and officers. That's the workflow of constructing a questionnaire and also having access from the director view. I'm going to pass it back over to Jeff to close out our session.
Thanks, Brian, for that great overview. I hope we've given you a good sense here of how Diligent may help transform that typically manual, cumbersome director and officer questionnaire process into a simple, automated, and replicable process each year. We'll end on this slide here, just sharing a few of the key features that Brian covered. Some of the feedback that I received from customers is that the simple task of pre-filling out questionnaires is a huge help to them in making this an easy process to manage each year for both themselves and the directors. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the audience for some questions that may have come in throughout the presentation. Anything to share there, Danielle?
Yeah, so like Jeff said, if anyone has any questions on the line, now is the time to speak up and ask them. Like I said before, your lines are muted, but please use the questions pane on the right side of your screen. And I'm just going to give everyone a couple more seconds to get their questions in. I see some coming in already, so while we wait for everyone to get their questions in, Jeff and Brian, I'm going to start with the first one. So we had a few questions on exporting the questionnaires. Are you able to export the questionnaires with all answers once completed, not just the questions themselves?
Brian, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. You of course will be able to export all of the questionnaires, all the responses, that your directors and officers fill in right from the questionnaire manager. You'll export them as a clean PDF document for you to, of course, share internally, save internally, but of course you'll be able to, take that information from outside of the Diligent system.
The next question is there a limit to how many questionnaires you can create?
There is no limit. You can have as many historical questionnaires as need be, or as many active questionnaires. Your directors will, log in. If you have a bunch published and active, let's just see a list of multiple questionnaires, whether it's all different director and officer questionnaires, committee questionnaires, or questionnaires specific to one committee within your board of directors. Or even if it's just a basic questionnaire looking for feedback, from past board meetings as well. So no limitations. Diligent boards, our board application as well. It's all unlimited server storage. So as much information as you need to keep within the system, you can do so.
Great. It looks like the last question here. Are you able to have more than one administrator creating the questionnaires?
Yes, you can. You can definitely have more than one administrator managing the questionnaire process. It'll be determined, by your organization who has these capabilities. We always recommend, just as a best practice, not too many hands in the pot, with regards to constructing these. And, it's so easy to, manage once you have your first questionnaire built in there that it doesn't really require too many people to maintain. But, again, it'll be customized and determined based on what your organization's needs are.
Excellent. I think that's all the questions we had for today, but if there are any more after the webinar, please feel free to reach out. We will be sending the recording, and then you can just reply to that, or you can reach out to Jeff, Brian, or myself. So I'd like to thank Brian and Jeff for joining us today, as well as everyone on the line here. Again, if you'd like to see a full demonstration or have any questions, just reach out, and you'll actually get a survey at the end of the webinar that's going to pop up on your screen, where you can also let us know if you'd like to learn more. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.